Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of EETV. Watch rather bring you everything in entertainment. It's pterodactyl time. We're talking about Power Rangers once again, the Power Rangers reboot that's coming up in 2025, and I'm giving my ideas as to what I would like to see in the new Dino Zords. So now we all remember Kimberly Hart, and then later on Catherine piloted the Pterodactyl Zord. I would like to see a little bit more from the Pterodactyl Zord this time. I would like to see the Pterodactyl Zord be able to hover. And one of the ways they could do that is by having the high-powered fans that you would see on some of the jets be inside of the wings of the pterodactyl. I think that would be a good concept. And it should be able to fly normally as well, but I do think adding a hover option, and the hover option being suspended by either high powered jets or fans, would be optimal by just showing what they could do for a new Zord. Also, to pay homage to the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I think the Pterodactyl Dino Zord should have the lightning cannons just like they did in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers season, just to have a small callback and showing respect to the original season that started it all. Also, what I do think this should have, just to add more, the Pterodactyl Dino Zord should also have a sonic scream as a secondary weapon, because just like I said in my previous video with the Mastodon Zord, I think that each Zord should have a close range and a long range weapon. So I do think, along with having the lightning cannons, a sonic scream should be added. And of course, if we're going for something that's kind of like a melee weapon for the Pterodactyl Zord, the wings should be razor sharp, and the Pterodactyl Zord should be able to break the sound barrier and use the sharp wings as a blade to cut any enemies down within this show. I would definitely like to see that. And it could be such a cool sequence, seeing the Pterodactyl Zord break the sound barrier, and then maybe it performs a barrel roll, and then during that barrel roll it hits the monster, and then it breaks this, it comes out of the sonic boom mode, and then it hits the enemy with a sonic scream. I think that'll be a nice little fight sequence right there, because with these Zords, like I said before in the previous Mastodon video, that we should see more out of the Dino Zords before they transform into the Megazord, because these are machines of war. They should have functionality, and they should be able to do some damage before they form the Megazord. So that's what I would like to see. The next thing that we should definitely see, the Pterodactyl Zord should be able to use its talons, and along with the hover option that I mentioned earlier in this video, it should be able to connect to any one of the remaining 5 Dino Zords, and even the Dragon Zord, and they should be able to connect with it and lift it in the air. That's what I would like to see for a double attack, so to say. I think that'll be a good option. And not only that, it should be able to, the Pterodactyl Zord should be able to do that, maybe to help some of the slower Zords and be able to taxi them as well as performing an attack. I think it should have the power to be able to do that. That should it'll just add more into seeing the Zords before they form into the Megazord. Another thing, keeping in my theme with short range, mid-range, and long-range attacks, the short range attack, just like I mentioned before, would be rings that are razor sharp, and they can cut down things by flying by at the speed of sound while creating a sonic boom. The mid-range attack would be the sonic scream that I mentioned before, and it will emit from the Pterodactyl Zord's mouth. The long-range attack would be the laser lightning cannons mounted at the wingtips, which is a homage towards the original MMPR season. Now, these things would definitely add to the dinosaur, the Pterodactyl Zord, and make it more than just the Zord that just flew around and takes a couple shots and then becomes the chess piece for the Megazord. I would like to see not only just the Pterodactyl Zord, but all the Zords have more functionality. And also, what would be cool with it being able to hover, we could see the new Power Rangers. And I'm just focusing on the Pink Ranger now because we're talking about the Pterodactyl Zord. The Pterodactyl Zord should be able to hover, and then the Pink Ranger, Kimberly Hart, should be able to like do air assault and have a steel cord or whatever metal cord on the back, and she'll be able to jump out of the Pterodactyl Zord and down and be able to grab any civilians or help out in any sort of rescue or an attack. But she should be able to do that. For those of you that have been in the military like myself, there is a thing called air assault where they have soldiers, basically rappel and they're dangling on the cable outside of an attack helicopter. And it's called air assault. I think the Pterodactyl Zord should be able to do this with Kimberly Hart. She should air assault out of the Pterodactyl Zord, and she'll be able to perform any rescue missions or to just be a quick drop to maybe catch the enemy's surprise when they're coming behind enemy lines, if they're taking on a bunch of whatever foot soldiers that they may come across, because we can't necessarily say putties because we don't know as of yet who is going to be the antagonist for this season. So I think that'll be another good option. Also, while I'm on it, the new Pterodactyl Zord should be able to attach to the other dinosaurs to provide flight, combining extra power from 2 energy cores. So I know what you're saying. The Pterodactyl Zord is arguably the lightest Zord out of all 6 from MMPR. So how is the Pterodactyl Zord going to be able to lift up all the other Zords if they have more power? And I have a solution for that. When the Pterodactyl Zord connects to any other Zord, it's like the power cords will be connected through touch, and that extra power from the Zord, whatever Zord the Pterodactyl Zord is connecting onto, will give it a boost and be able to increase its power, thus giving it more lift. And even though that the Pterodactyl Zord is lighter, it should be able to carry in a tremendous amount of weight because you're pretty much attaching 2 power cores from 2 Zords together in order to boost its power. And also, we're talking about alien technology here, because even if they don't go with the 2 power core idea that I just came up with, they could just come up with, because it's anti-gravity technology. So maybe the Pterodactyl Zord attaches to the Mastodon or the Dragon Zord or the Tyrannosaurus or the Saber-toothed Tiger or the Triceratops, and once it's connected to the Pterodactyl Zord, then it also would share the attributes of the anti-gravity technology. Hence, the Pterodactyl Zord will be able to lift whatever Zord in the air, and they can do air attacks, and they can it could be a taxi, or I just thought this on the fly, it can attach to an enemy, and whatever field, the anti-gravity field, will affect the enemy, and the Pterodactyl Zord will be able to lift the enemy up high and then just drop it off for like a gravity attack, take it up way in the stratosphere and just drop it off, and it comes back in and hits the ground, and whatever enemy is on the receiving end of that attack receives great amount of damage or is destroyed because of that. Because along what I've said before, each of the Zords should have a functionality that they're able to perform some sort of final attack. Now tell me what you think about that. Like, share, and subscribe if you feel like it. I'll see you in the next one. May the power protect you.